Thank you. They were incredibly inspiring presentations. I think school community partnerships is, there's been earlier work when you remember the Disadvantaged Schools program and I guess some of those early days, but to see it evolve in such a strategic way, outcomes-focused way, has been terrific. The question I had is about the relationship with school council and how that fits in, that structure as well, I guess to both of you.
Yeah, well, do you want to talk about yours? Because we haven't really done much.
I guess there's two ways to look at this, and I guess at the primary school I'm a member of their school council, but reciprocally we have school council presidents as members of our governance group. So for us that's the relationship. I think for the school council president, particularly from the primary school, to come in and see the discussions had around that table, the number of partners that are actually involved in the school, because and probably another message to give is that you can very clearly label this as hub work, or it can look like seamless schoolwork. So for the primary school, for the most part, lots of things are happening there, but not everybody would recognise that it's hub work. It's just become part of the school. So for her to come in and sit around that table and say, wow, all these partners are actually sitting around here talking about benefiting my school, my student, my children's outcomes, was really powerful for her. But equally, I guess me sitting around their table helps me, be more informed in the way we're going to lead the project.
Yeah, our school council doesn't. Well, they're regularly informed and updated on what's going on, but they're not really. They're not so closely involved with the hub. We have our executive team that we meet every fortnight, which are partners, someone from the Len, Monash, Latrobe City, etc. Yeah, that help run it, and also then once a term a big partnership meeting with all of the organisations that Christy has badgered into joining us and helping us and getting commitments out of that they would help us. They've all made commitments to help out, so they kind of run and they report to school council, but school council are just wrapped that they're here.
Yeah, John Walsh is my name, and I have actually run the Bridge of Hope Foundation, and we do a lot of work in the youth justice area, which leads me to the question in relation to the hubs. What happens to the kids when they leave school? Are they still involved in the hub in any way?
I guess not formally. When you're saying when they leave school, we've had ex-students come back and be involved in activities and so on, but there hasn't been, it probably isn't a formal strategy.
I could share the experience of our Berrendale Hub that I talked about. Berrendale Hub is, as I said, intellectually disabled, and they're actually, they've got 4 areas of focus, and one of them is employability of students and improving. So they actually have got, as part of their strategy, that they will be tracking and working with those students, because part of what they want to do is to actually get them into, as we know, intellectually disabled students have lower rates of employability and opportunities to go on to further study. So they are actually consciously, so I think again, it depends on if you're setting that vision, what is your vision, and if your vision of the community is that you want to continue the hub work above and beyond the sort of the traditional school years, that's where the model, this is a place-based response, so the place really can respond and set it up the way they want to.
Yeah, we were just saying that is a good point, and I think what we find with this work is that it matures as we go along. We're 2.5 years in, there's a lot happening, but we're learning all the time, so that's definitely a point for us to take on board. There was down here.
Could I just add to that? Robin Kennedy from the Salvation Army Crossroads Youth and Family Services, and I think one of the things with hubs is that organisations like ours have the opportunity to be engaged with the school while the young people are in the school. So in response to your question, that if a young person was engaged with one of our programs and then they did leave school, then that relationship continues. So it allows the relationship to be formed within the hub as agencies such as ours are engaged, and then as the young person transitions from school, there's still that opportunity for us to be engaged in that relationship with the young person. So in some ways what that's doing is creating that seamlessness.
I didn't mention it in my presentation, but one of the first things our team have done is put a hot desk in at each of our 3 campuses for agencies to work from. and invited people to come in. Often you get to a pointy end of a situation with a kid, and it could be an exclusion meeting, a pre-exclusion meeting, and people come in. There'll be someone from Anglicare rock up. There's DHS. There's someone from Juvie Justice, someone from Berry Street, and they all sit at the table and they're all saying, "Are you working with them? I didn't know you were." And the year level coordinator and the assistant principal and our welfare person, none of them knew that they were all involved. And they're all happening outside of school hours at Headspace and at different places. And one of the initiatives and one of the directions that's in the strategic plan is to streamline those processes and bring those people into the schools, so we all sharing that information and working together, not pulling ourselves in different directions. And that's a similar point, you know, that trying to keep kids connected and hooked in.
Hi. Okay, so Nikki, Hugh Willis-Land, convener of the Youth Commitment. Many of you know me. So I guess I have a question, I just have a reminder. The Youth Commitment is pretty strong in our area and we've got fantastic local experience. The Lens legacy, if you like, is that we're about strategic partnerships, which is some of the message we've had here today. So I guess it's an encouragement to think about how community can benefit our schools, how we can work in partnership for that seamless support service that we want our young people to have. And I think a lot of our schools do that fantastically well, but I guess I'd challenge you that we can always do things better. And that's what today is about in some way. I mean, my question is around the checklist we talked about, and we are going to get to this today. But my question was, how did you start with this, and what were the benefits? Because I know a number of our schools have done the checklist, but in real terms, from your experience, how did that help you get started?
I guess that I didn't have the checklist at the start. I guess we had that bit of data, and as I've gone along, the Hattie stuff came in to give us evidence. But I guess really it just started from a gut feeling that things weren't right. But when I look at that now, there were some things we did that were on that list, like making training our staff about respectful conversations at front of house, just how they can be more welcoming to people when they come into the school. Having a quiet space for them. One thing that worked really well was just putting a TV up with pictures of the kids. When they come in all steamed up, just leave them in the foyer for 10 or 15 minutes, end up they're all watching the kids, and it just helps calm things down. You know, a range of strategies, some that we just kind of thought up, some that we coincided with that, and then we got that and looked through it and say, well, now what else do we need to do? So I think it's really useful, and the Dare to Lead one is a really good one too, because, you know, it's not rocket science. If it works for this group of people, disadvantaged people, or this group of people, it's probably going to work for a whole range of different sorts of people. So those truths ring true all the time. Listen to people, be respectful to people, welcome people, be understanding. All those things, they work for everyone. And yeah, the checklist is really good because there's things there that I wouldn't have thought of. There's things we did naturally, but I find it really useful. It's a good thing to stop at, have a look at, and recalibrate and think, well, what next now? Yeah, thanks for that.
So I think if you know, you're wanting some tools to actually help you get feedback from your parents and your communities, or if you're looking for a way to sort of approach this in a strategic way, I'd encourage you to look at both those resources. I think you might find something there that could be helpful as well. So, you know, it's sort of, I mean, these checklists capture a certain amount of information, but if you want to dig even a bit deeper, there's some great stuff. But what I like, Anthony, about what you've been saying all the time is that you're prepared to modify, add, change, enhance. You're listening to people. I mean, I just thought the real power of what you were saying, I mean, it's fantastic work. And is about the fact that you're actively seeking to hear and respond to what your parents and your community are saying. I think for a long time, schools think they know, and so we do a lot of things for people, and then we get hurt feelings when they don't turn up, or only two come, or something happens and it falls a bit flat. And I like the way that you just keep listening and prepared to change. And, you know, you've got canned for your parent-teacher interviews. Well, I'm sure a lot of us would, you know. Let's do things differently. I mean, that's the power in what you're doing, and I think you can't help but be successful because you are keeping asking.
Thank you.
Kevin Pope's my name. I'm from Meadow Heights Primary School. We have a hub, a community hub. The message this morning that I want to add to is that it's clearly a different way of working. It's not a space. It's not a space. It's a place to meet and connect the gaps. You know, the purpose of a school is, our message out our way is that a school, the purpose of a school is to assist families to educate their children and to create engaged citizens. Clearly some families need more support than others. Clearly, at our place, our families will walk around trouble if there's somewhere to walk and someone to walk with. Now that's not a corny statement, but one of the real challenges is for us to move beyond the notion, oh, we've got to have a room, or we need 100 grand to set up a space. It's really not a space, it's a new way of working. It's connecting up. It's legitimising our work rather than saying it is all welfare, and sometimes I have to wear the suit or the tie to get into places and spaces where you can influence and everything else, where we really ought to have a polo shirt on and say, well, this is what our real work is. The reason why I'm stood up now is that that's the message, that it clearly is a legitimate way to work. It clearly is a way of turning the school around and facing the community and building on the resources that's in that community and then asking parents. Because as a primary school principal, and I think that's why I've stood up, is what I heard said about when you get exposed to, and I know Rob Greenacre's here as well, when you get exposed to people that legitimise real work, and then you get the disciples that we've had, it makes it easier for those that need that scaffolding, that, hey, this is legitimate work, and it will impact. The Hattie stuff that Colleen talks about is almost like, you know, forbidden bagpipes, you know, you open it up, and the powerful message in it is that parents matter. And yet in my secondary school experience with our kids, and I'll finish with this monologue, but it's a real one, our 3 kids went to school, and I'm an educator, and it was, hey, we don't need you, you know, it's at the gate and in your pocket. We'll look after it. Not a criticism of my colleagues, but that's the way we work. And then we start to ask the questions, and we find out those little tiny things first about the parent-teacher interview, or about the clan mentality and faculties, or, oh no, that's our work, not yours. So all that I've come today, I'm in a primary school, but I've come today to say what I want, and our community wants, is a seamless transition into the learning journey. So we won't become, in Hume, the juvenile justice capital of the world, the single parent capital of the world with desperation, the poverty capital of the world, but we will deliver for our community in ways that will lead others. And I think that's what the message is. It is a new way of working. And I congratulate the secondary school principals that have been courageous, because it is difficult work, because you will get that people say, well, that's not our real work. And what the woman from the Brotherhood of St Lawrence said, it is about system change and legitimising. For schools to have relevance into the future, they've got to be part of the community and face it, not let it in. So, I mean, I just wanted to say that because that's the message that I get, and I hope our secondary colleagues that are here get as well. I'm sure they do, that's why they're here.
Well, I have a question, and it probably comes from way back when I was a principal in the school. I know that the Smith family is very proactive in working in schools, and obviously we have them working here in our community, and they're working across Victoria. I'll just ask for both, I suppose, both Karen or Anthony, if you're a school principal sitting here or out there and you haven't got anybody knocking on your door to say, we want some support to build a hub, partnerships, where do you start? Where would you go? I could ask either of you. What would the best advice you would have to be doing that if you're not already well connected? And I know a lot of our schools are well connected.
Yeah, I think when you have the mindset, you find opportunities. People say, I never knew there was so much generational poverty PDs going on, and Well, there is, and there always has been. It's just we weren't looking for them. Or I didn't know that we could get someone in to give us respectful conversation training and how to have good phone conversations with people. But when you look, you find, and I mean, yeah, it is resources, and that's always hard. And I think, you know, at our school we committed some money towards it, and we committed some personnel and some office space because we believe that it's valuable, and we have got finite resources. But I think if you're brave enough to head off and gather what you can, and you know, it might be one person in your school, one ES officer, 1 day a week for a start, or whatever bit of resource that you can put to it, and head off. I'm sure there are. When Christy sent the messages out to all of the agencies, they all wanted to help. They all thought it was a good idea. They all want to get involved. So I'm sure things will come along. But it's pretty easy for me to say that because we're on the way. But it's not like there's not really a shop to go to, is there, to get...
No, I guess that's the value of the coordination role. So whatever that may look like, you know, this isn't about adding work onto a school principal's workload or a teacher's workload. It's about looking at ways of working differently, but actually complementing the work at the school in improving student outcome, but through partnership. And I suppose having that coordination role, they're the person that goes out and looks for those partnerships. You know, whatever that may look like. So, you know, I work for a lead agency, and I guess a lot of partnerships come with that, but it could look different to that. But without that coordination role, I think, you know, once I go, again, I'll go back to what Daniel said, the primary school principal and his different way of thinking. You know, he now knows of organisations and programs, and he's met people that he would never have met because he didn't have those connections. So hooking with somebody who does have the connections, or an organisation that has those connections, certainly sets the path.
But if I was a school principal, and I see some of you that I know around the room, school principals talk to school principals a lot. And so if you're a school principal and you want to know how to go about doing some hub stuff, go talk to a school principal who does do some hub stuff and see where that could be the first step in, or talk to a community agency such as the Smith family. But you know, in daily life or weekly life, there's school principals networks and those sorts of things that make that happen quickly and easily.
And can I just add to that in the youth community there are 30 community agencies. All of our secondary schools and 75% of our primary schools assign members of our youth commitment. That is about seamless transitions for our young people. So you are already connected to people who want to assist you. So by all means, tap into our networks and our local experience. It's the same on the Whittlesea side of the land. The youth commitment's been around longer than the Lem. So we have those strategic partnerships already. We just don't utilise them as effectively as we could, and that's my challenge. And I think it's a really exciting time that there are so many of you in the room and really willing to embrace a new way of thinking. More power to all of you.
I would agree with that too, and just sort of say that community organisations and schools want the same outcomes for children and young people. They just work differently to do that, and schools are a fantastic platform for program service delivery, and sometimes that is all the potential partner needs, is actually access to their clients and a space to provide. So it's not all about the school wanting, it's all about also about other organisations saying, well, I want access to these young people. It's not quite working the way it is now, and schools have them.
In bringing this section to a close, I'd like to comment what a powerful message Anthony and Karen you've brought here, and what a challenge. We're all here in this room, I think, are committed to the sort of things it's happening in your schools. What you've done for us is giving us a few insights on the ways to go about that, and a challenge to keep trying and making things better. So could you please join me in thanking Karen and Anthony?